what about the receiver delay? Can you just measure the time from when the trace starts out to where that pulse starts and get time of flight directly, or do you have to calibrate out the receiver?
No, that's my expectation. I'm using a straightforward AM receiver, so there shouldn't be anything. SDR? No.
Aha. Okay.
It's a real radio.
Yeah, that's right.
Real radio.
Yeah, I mean, this one's wound around a Quaker Oats oatmeal box and the whole bit. It's with a germanium diode. It's
wow.
Yeah, I'm joking, but yes, that's really all you need for this. The next one that we will set up, we do have a nice receiver that has synchronous AM. So we'll use that for the signal to noise ratio, but otherwise it's not fundamentally different from a diode detector. That's
cool. I like it.
Yeah, I'm really curious. Today, this evening at noon UTC or midnight UTC, I'll have the first full day of recording. I'd been having some problems that my software kept shutting down, but I solved the problem. So tonight I'll have the first full set, and I'll try some quick graphing, I suppose a heat map graphing, just to see if you can see a wiggle in the line. I think you've said that at 15 megahertz, you don't expect much.
With what respect?
Much change in time of flight during a day.
Oh, well, I've some data, and I have seen multiple modes. Now, well, I'm sorry, I'm mixing WWVH and WWV. I'm seeing the delays on 15 megahertz from Hawaii that correspond really well for the time difference between like a 2 and 3 hop mode. You can't get to Hawaii on 1 hop. It takes at least 2, and even that requires a 5-degree takeoff angle or less. But from here to Colorado, yeah, it'll certainly follow the change in height, but getting 2 hops at 15 megahertz, I don't, not this time of the sunspot cycle, I don't think.
Okay, well, I'll let you know.
Oh, in response to your email, Steve, I think I figured out a way in the analog chain to enable and disable the 1 PPS injection of a square edge pulse in the analog chain that'll be full scale for the A to D, and I can make it any width I want. So
you can do that, then it's there.
Because then I'm not going through the radio, it's directly right into the analog chain at the time it happens. So there's no, it'll be nanoseconds in terms of delay, so it should be right on the mark.
You have a lot of advantages there.
Well,
problem I had was with a real receiver with an AGC, you got to get the levels right.
Yeah, well, this doesn't have that, and the limitation is going to be the A to D sample time, because I can only do to the resolution of that. So I'm planning on hitting just 1 cycle, the first one. So it'll be a 10 microsecond pulse.
That's going to be great, John.
Okay. Steve, I wasn't sure what you were after with the 350 microseconds. What did that represent?
Oh, a burst, RF burst at a frequency like 5 megahertz, if you're listening to 5 megahertz, gives you a half cycle, which is the same width as a half cycle of 1 kilohertz. In other words, it's 350 microsecond burst with the ringing in the receiver, and the square pulse gives you a 500 microsecond half sine.
I got the display up here showing him what you sent me. So he's injecting it on the RF front end.
It just makes it easier to do the timing difference.
So this is being injected.
That's still the hard part, is figuring out where to pick start time on the WWV pulse.
Oh, I see. So that the falling edge doesn't interfere with the second pulse.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Hello, everyone. How are you?
I see.
We should get officially started here. So I know we've gotten started a little bit, but I do have a few people on here who are either new or who are sitting quietly on the sides. So I just wanted to start this meeting by saying welcome. We'll go around. Everyone can give a brief update on what they're up to and see if they have anything more that they want to talk about. And then we will just open it up from there for everything else. So good afternoon. Today is December 9th, 2021. And this is the biweekly HamSCI Telecon. So I'm Nathaniel, W2NAF. I am very busy finishing up the semester here and getting ready for the American Geophysical Union meeting next week. And right now I'm working on a poster that I'm doing with actually a number of you on this call about the Grape 1. And so this particular poster is called, whoops.
Is the lower left one then?
This particular poster is called The Construction Operation of a HamSCI Grape Version 1 Personal Space Weather Station, a Citizen Scientist's Perspective. And so I've done is I've gotten photos and stories and information from a number of people who've been participating, Joe Hobart, David Wall, and Bob Benedict gave me a lot of the information. And I've also taken things from Steve and Veronica and Christina and David and John and Gary, and I'm putting it all into here. So that's what I've been up to. So in a few hours to a few days, you may get an email from me saying, take a look at this poster and let me know if there's anything you think should be added or changed.
Thank you for including us.
You're welcome. Well, thank you for, I mean, this is pretty much all of your work, so. So
Nonetheless, thank you for including.
So that's what I'm up to. Let's see, Steve Serwin, what are you up to?
Well, I'm like you, getting all the AGU stuff finished up and uploaded. I've got I promised Christina a compilation of a bunch of the data I've taken on the Wwvb waveforms, so that's on the back burner. Not moving to the front burner pretty soon here, but mainly getting ready for the AGU thing.
Yeah. And so I've seen your presentations. It sounds like you got everything uploaded and recorded and it all looks good, right?
I did.
Excellent. Great. So, okay, JB, how about you? How are you doing?
I'm trying to unmute. Everything is good. I'm working on the software side. As you know, I'm building a very general purpose GPU accelerated DSP client. It'll be quite powerful. Basically, I'll be able to intercept IQ data streams, assemble buffers of arbitrary size, and do things like calculate power spectral densities, cross correlations, that sort of thing. Apply whatever filtering you wish. Later, I'll scale this up to multiple IQ streams. So I'll probably create a server type structure where you'll be able to process the streams more or less independently, but you'll also be able to compare them if you wish.
Wow.
It'll be quite powerful. So Dave Larson, Dave Witten, and myself have been talking about this. We've all built GPU accelerated Linux boxes for this purpose.
Wow.
I've been spending most of the past week getting all the packages in order. There are a number of them. We might even integrate this with not HamSCI, with a Scilab or Octave. I use MATLAB a lot, but of course the first two are inexpensive as free. And if I can get all that worked out eventually, that would be a very nice interface for applying post-processing functions of various types and also the GUI display and what have you. So at any rate, I'm very excited about this. I'm not sure exactly how the HamSCI community will use the tool. I have my own ideas and agenda for this, but I'm a noise theorist. So, you know, I like to dig into noise phenomena and figure out what they are. And at any rate, but I think it's going to be a very powerful tool for this HamSCI community, and I'm really excited about working on it. Back to
Thank you. I'm very excited about it too. I'm really glad you're here. I'm glad you're working with David Larson and Scotty and David Witten and those crews. So I think that will feed in not only the HamSCI but the Tapper into many other people. So I think that's going to be very good. So very excited. Wonderful. So then
Thank you.
John and David, who are actually physically in the same room with each other. It's a
Look
brave
at that, he
thing
is
these-
here.
it's a brave
I'm not
thing these
breathing.
days. Yeah, no breathing. That's not allowed.
I forgot to bring my memory pills today, though, so I don't have as much to report as I might.
I've actually got 3 items, unless you have anything you want to throw in.
I'll talk about senior projects about my second text. You go ahead.
Okay. The first thing is the FTP update. I've been working, I've probably put in about 30 hours. I'm trying to get the automated FTP transfer to work with the distribution of the Grape One. The first hurdle is I had to realize that the distro that Grape One was based on is now obsolete, and I had to get the APT client to finally accept doing all the updates that were put in there. So I finally figured that out last week. So I've upgraded the kernel on the Grape One to the latest version, and I have FileZilla working perfectly with the repo that Wwv ARC provided for us. But I have to have a command line transfer to be able to cron tab the job, and FileZilla is not cron tabbable. It's a GUI interface only. So I've tried 5 other packages. The one that came the closest to working was one called FTP-upload. And on that kernel, there seems to be a bug where it confuses the port it's trying to use with the IP address that's been assigned to the PI. So when it comes up and says, you put it in the debug mode, it says port and it gives me the IP address, and then it dies. I sent it back to Mark at the WWV club who set up the repo. And unfortunately, he grabbed the latest version of Raspbian and got FTP upload to work just fine. But what that means is if we go that route, we have to completely rebuild and recompile all of the distro stuff for my FLDigi and all the packages is going to support that. And it also means that what have to happen is that all the users would have to copy their PSWS directory completely off, wipe the USD guard clean, start over and reload it. And I don't think that's something we want to do because that's a pretty major change.
Yeah.
I think one of my criteria for this update is it has to be an update to the kernel and possibly a new package installed, but not replacing the kernel. So basically, I'm at a point now where I've hit a brick wall. It's beyond my scope. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap onto Bob Benedict and have him try and figure this out. Because, like I say, I've tried 5 different packages that were in the existing distro for the Grape One distro. And I came the closest with the FTP upload, but it's not going to work. So I think I'm going to hand it off to him and have him try and see if he can make, because I just don't have the bandwidth anymore. I've already wasted way too much time on this, and I need to get back onto Grape 2.
Yeah, that's your most important job. Is Grape 2. There are a lot of people who can do the software mucking, but you are the only person.
And
I know
I'm throwing up the white flag. It's beyond my my
You're
wheelhouse.
the only person I know that can build the Grape 2.
I'm just a lowly hardware engineer. I'm not good at this stuff. So I gave it the old college try, and I'm throwing up the white flag, which segues very nicely into Grape 2 progress. I'm working on the state machine, and there are a couple of things that I set up as requirements for how this thing works. One is that on every 1 PPS coming in from the GPS engine, it resyncs the data sampling timing every second, such that you're always in sync with the 1 PPS. The engine has to auto reload itself and keep running, and it has to be programmable so you can change the rate at which you do samples and the period at which the samples happen. The way I've designed the hardware is that the A to D I've picked is a 16-bit 100 kilohertz SAR made by, I think it's TI. but it has a same footprint 18-bit 500 kilohertz A to D that just plops right in there. And you, with changing 2 of my timing registers, you can completely change the bit depth and the speed of the sampling. So we have the ability to upgrade and do this, but this engine, being that it's going to be an auto loading, resequencing, auto running engine, this next board turn I'm bringing out is going to be a very good general purpose data collection system for 4 channels of A to D that are synchronized to the 1 PPS, and it creates, you know, data files on that. So I think that's sort of why I'm taking this step, because this is an iterative step that we can use for other things down the road. Let's see. Yeah, the timers will auto reload and resync. Oh, the other requirement I had is that every PPS signal that comes in resyncs the engine. So, but the problem is on the U-Blocks PLLs that come out of it, there's 2 of them. I do not know if there is a way to guarantee phase information in terms of the 1 PPS versus the 1 megahertz right now that I'm using to create the A to D clock engine. So what I have to do is I have to treat the 1 PPS as an asynchronous signal, and I have to sync it into the other PLL's frequency, which is not hard to do, but it just requires 1 D-flop. But what that requires is that the 1 PPS signal for the data sampling will be 1 microsecond after it actually happens for all samples. Is that a problem?
Say that one more time.
Basically, with the synchronization of 1 PPS with the other PLL that's coming out of the U-Blocks receiver, I have to delay the 1 PPS by 1 microsecond, 1,000 nanoseconds. And that translates to, we figured out was what, 0.7 degree or 0.07 degree or something like that. Very small phase shift.
I don't remember the numbers.
It's pretty small, but it's consistent. And I don't know if it's an issue for the data collection, since most of the stuff we're measuring is much, much, much slower than a microsecond. But that is probably the only Achilles heel on this whole design, is that the synchronization requires me to delay it 1 to get it in sync. Because I can't guarantee the 2 PLLs. They're running off the same clock, but I don't know their phase relationship.
John, if I might ask, you're just resynchronizing it with a single flip-flop?
Yes.
Better be a really good one.
Yeah.
Because
if they are synced up, we're going to get metastability issues.
right.
Yeah.
You may
In
want
which case, if I do that, it would be,
there.
if I put 2 of them in there to guarantee it, that means it's going to be 2 microseconds off.
Well, you could clock 1 on the opposite edge of the clock.
That's true. That's true. That's a good point. So yeah, maybe I will do that. That's a good idea.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're probably going to get some instance of mistriggers.
Right. Especially if the 2 line up, it's going to be happening every second.
Right.
Actually, though, the other side of the GPS pulse per second pulse is not guaranteed precise.
No, but it's 100 milliseconds later, so I can't use it. I mean, I'm already taking at 8 kilohertz, 800 samples.
Well, it's 100 milliseconds nominal. But
Yeah.
It's not precise.
It's not precise, yeah. So we can't use it. It's only the rising edge we can clock off of. So that's where I stand on the design. I'm on my 7th state diagram, and I'm getting pretty close to realizing it in hardware. I've got hardware picked. I found a really slick part by, I think it was TI, that's a SOT23 6-pin that does 7 different logic functions depending on how you do it. So I can do an AND, NOR, OR, and MUX, and inverter, and buffer, all that kind of stuff with just 1 part. So that's going to make life a whole lot easier. That, and with some HC74 flip-flops, that should be the basis of my state machine. And I will document this and write up a description of how it works, because there's not going to be a classic counter as the state machine walks through like you would normally do. This is going to be pretty much very much optimized for this particular implementation. And last but not least, I wanted to know if there was going to be a consolidated effort to record the minute 8 on WWV before it disappears.
I think Bill Lyles has been leading the consolidated effort on the WWV Minute 8.
Right.
So he
He
has,
made some recordings using my Maui system. I know that.
Oh, cool.
And I think he used Glenn, who has a line of sight to WWV from a mountaintop by, above Fort Collins. So I know that Bill got at least those 2 recordings.
Wow. That's very important.
I know he's gotten more than that too, because I believe he was planning on doing a characterization of these. So he was running a rather good effort of doing this.
One has been posted. I've just dropped a link in the chat. If anybody feels like taking a look at that and comparing it to the ground truth, there is one from, let's see if I can remember which SDR. It's from N6GN, the Kiwi. And Bill and I talked about it and decided that the best way to start was to just post that set of recordings to begin. But he does have more. And I have been contemplating doing a possibly putting together like a 24-hour campaign for people to record Minute 8 and then analyze the time of flight and just submit time of flight data. But it's still a nascent thought, and I want to finish the campaign that ends tomorrow first before tackling it. So that might be a January thing. We'll see.
Has there been-
How long is this recording? How long is the signal going to be transmitted for?
Through January 30th at least. I think if we ask for an extension, we'll be granted it. When I asked them, is it possible for us to extend it to January 30th? They were like, yeah, like it was very much, what do you mean turn it off? So I don't think that we're imposing on anybody by having it on there, but by having some sort of a general end date to work off of, we can at least try to, make sure that we're on a schedule.
And Matt's using it for his alarm clock now. He doesn't want it shut off. Yeah.
I know there's at least one person using it for a ringtone out there. And if you wish to do the same, the MP3 is available at the link I just sent. So
Has there been any discussion yet of a standardized analysis attack on the signal?
oh yeah, there's been a fair amount. It's just been a little bit scattered.
Is that what
The,
JB is working on? Is an engine to do that?
What?
Is that what JB is working on? Is an engine to do that? The correlation?
My engine will be capable of doing that.
That's sort of what I thought. That
There you
sounded like exactly what we need.
And it'll be extremely, I'm going to use the NVIDIA CUFFT libraries for that
Ooh.
purpose. And very highly optimized, very fast. And I also have a decomposition theorem for arbitrarily large FFTs. Well, I do power of 2 or whatever radix I assume. So we can get really big with this, depending on your needs. At some point, the code will be available on GitHub. You'll be able to pull it down, build it, try it out, and then tell me what else you want. And I can build, hopefully I can build that structure in, not a problem.
Wow.
I'm excited, can you tell?
So are we.
Yeah, you should be. Good.
That's fantastic.
Should I start a thread on the HamSCI listserv about this?
I'm going to defer to Dave Larson. He's in terms of my own liaison with this group, because I'm fairly new. I would like Dave to speak with you about that, or speak with the group about that. I'm completely open. I'm going to share the code, share everything. So you'll be able to have this discussion, and then let me know what you need. Right now, I'm just writing code.
Sounds good.
All right, that sounds great. So let's see, that was the report from John and David Kasdan. Right? Did you have anything else, David?
I can report if you wish.
Yes, please.
We're at the end of the semester here. So I find a camera. There we go. We're at the end of the semester here. So our senior projects are done. And I do have some interesting things to report from that are pertinent.
Go ahead.
The Coherent CW project is moving along, and our alumnus radio club president, Aiden, who is in Philadelphia, transmitted NIST traceable Coherent CW for us, and our senior project group here received it. It was in nasty noise, and they got an 85% Morse character decoding. I don't know what the bit error rate was, but it probably is about comparable to that. So that was really a nice success, and that group wants to continue the project into spring term. Our expectation is that will turn into a nice data collection method for technician licensees who want to participate in the 2024 eclipse. I bought one of the QRP Labs CW transceiver kits. I've just started on it early this afternoon, and we'll complete it maybe over the weekend. That might make a nice packaging for this, because the only additional hardware for the Coherent CW system is an Arduino. We're using a Teensy because it's fast, but I think it will only require a $2 Arduino. Along those lines, with data collection from a Teensy and synchronized with a GPS receiver, I mentioned this morning on the call, many of you heard this, I have my first day of data collection going on for WWV second ticks. And that looks pretty good, actually. With any luck, by next week, I'll have a nice graph of at least a day or two's data to show off. That should show changes in time of flight over the UTC day, and perhaps multipathing. We'll see how the graphs work out. Another senior project involved Wwvb Monitoring. Much of the software is similar to that in the Coherent CW. They're both matched filters for 100 millisecond intervals with a fixed frequency. And that one didn't get quite as far as the Coherent CW did, but it got a certain distance. We similarly expect that to be a nice monitoring system that can be distributed across the countryside. And the crew at NIST is looking forward to that, because they don't have any distributed Wwvb monitoring. So we may wind up supplying a bunch of those for NIST. I think that's what I know today.
And I'm sharing the.
Oh,
the plot
oh,
there.
so here's.
Can you see that? Is my screen showing up on everybody's?
Yeah, if I
Mhm.
could ask a question on the WWVB project,
Yes.
are you decoding that or doing
Yes.
any phase?
No, we're not doing
Uh,
phase right now.
recording?
Well, wait, what do you mean by phase? Because
Well, of course, it's got a very funky phase code on it.
it does. So that's not decoding the phase encoded message is not part of it yet.
Yeah, but are you able to extract phase from
Yes.
that signal, or are you just picking up amplitude?
Right now, we're just picking up amplitude.
Okay,
The next, one of the next step is to add the square in there so we can do phase information.
right. Yeah, I'd like to follow that.
Yeah, it's a cute little project. You'll like this. Is the screen sharing working? Can folks see?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Our carpet,
Yeah, in perfect Matt Deutschness, he said he used to have a rug that looked like that. It's, yeah, really, I can't imagine a better statement from Matt. This is a couple minutes of the second ticks from WWV 15 megahertz this morning from here in Cleveland, Ohio. Time from the GPS 1 pulse per second begins at the left. That's the earliest. Each second tick progresses left to right. The second ticks then progress forward to back. And the long squiggles are the top of minute 1 kilohertz signals. I'm not doing very much filtering now, so there may be some WWVH 15 kilohertz. That may be what the higher spikes are further back. I don't know yet. Today's the first day that I'll have a full data collection. So news as it happens, but that's the carpet that we're going to have the art students weaving for senior project next term. Yeah.
Are those milliseconds across the bottom there, David?
It is samples which are
8 kilohertz.
correct, 8,000 samples per second. So each unit there represents 125 microseconds.
Gotcha.
But this came out of the coherent CW project because we were synchronizing on 100 millisecond resolution off of the 1 PPS. So we just took the first one and had it record this on the Teensy and then spit it up to a Raspberry Pi, and it worked out really well.
Yeah, it is interesting. We have 3 different projects going, all with the same hardware on Teensies. The only thing that the sending coherent CW adds is one MOSFET to key a transmitter.
That does work. I tried it on my 7610.
So I think we have the history's first NIST traceable radio telegraphy from last month. Yeah, that's cute.
That was really cool.
Showing up sometime soon in a QEX article.
That's right.
That's great, David.
Thanks. Yeah.
You're welcome. Let's see. How about Dave W60Q?
You're still muted, Dave.
Trying to press the space bar and it didn't work. Yeah, I don't know what's up with that. It's happened before. Anyway, I'm just here hanging out, trying to learn something. That's about it.
Great.
Lower left.
Nice to see you. Rob
Okay.
Robinette.
It's also raining here in California, in LA, a little bit. So,
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's too bad. Rob, AI6VN, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm mostly lurking here just to learn what you guys are doing. I guess I don't know if all you guys participated. I was on Monday. We are uncovering some problems apparently with the whispernet.org whisper spot database. So I don't yet know how serious they are, but it appears that the CSV files that I don't know if anybody's using those, so I don't know if it's important to anyone here, but if the CSV files seem to be missing a fair number, well, some number of spots seem to get dropped, and because I scraped the WhisperNet in real time, and I have a clone that's taken from a WhisperNet API that I get those spots roughly every 60 seconds, and I compare that against the CSV file, and there's many spots that are missing that I get in my real-time scrape that don't show up in the whispernet.org's CSV files. And those seem to be associated with spots that are delivered to WhisperNet late in the 2-minute cycle. That's our initial, or after the 2-minute cycle. Late delivered spot reports seem to get dropped, but not entirely. I mean, some of them arrive and are there, but some of them are not. So Gwen, G3ZIL is preparing a deeper report on the subject. So if any of you are using the CSV files from WhisperNet for any of your purposes, you might be aware that some of the there may be lost data in them. It's anyway. We do have a clone that is much more pristine, not perfect, but the clone at whisperdemon.org that came from the APIs does not drop those spots. And so virtually all of this, there are still some missing spots. They miss some spots in the real-time API, but only a couple hundred per day, and they all occur at 5 minutes past midnight UTC, when I guess their whispernet.org server is really busy creating that corrupted CSV file. Anyway, that's perhaps more than most of you want to know about it, but that's I think the one thing that might be most relevant to users of WhisperNet, the spot databases.
Thanks for that report, Rob. Let's see. Christina, how are things going over there?
Oh, pretty well. I'm going through the QSL cards for all of the Eclipse festivals. because I'm putting in the ones for the Antarctic one. And I would say that this is about a third of them. So
Wow.
if you've collected data for me, it will be on its way soon. I just need to get more stamps. But you can
Fantastic.
see I've got a ball on the wall back there. So that and AGU prep and all of the usual. So,
Sounds good.
oh, and fighting with the HPC. If I could have your 2D version, that would be a great help.
My 2D version.
Yeah, or I've been running the first version of your TID code that has the 4-dimensional matrix, and I have been running it on a node with 128 gigs of RAM, and it's still running out. So
Okay.
if you have something that is a little more optimized, it might.
Yeah.
I don't know what you were actually using to make your figures, but
So I basically had two approaches to it. In one approach, which is the approach you're using right now, I had the whole IRI. I just ran the whole IRI and filled up a big like 4D array.
mm-hmm.
And then in the second approach, and then after I did that, then I added in the sinusoidal TID. In the second approach, I just calculated the path between the two stations, and then I added the sinusoid.
So I might actually, that's a good point. I may actually want to do the first one, because one of the things I've been talking about is generating the IRI and then, adding TIDs of various sizes. So doing one IRI run makes the most sense.
Mhm.
However, with your test code, I'm running into an issue where the test script has a duration, the start time and the end time are the same.
Mhm.
And when I run the IRI for that, of course, I get one file, but then if I tell it to do a later end time,
Mhm.
that's when it dies. So should I be running it for 0 minutes and then 5 minutes and then 10 minutes?
I
Or
don't remember. This goes
remembers,
back
okay.
to the fact that it was, more than 12 months ago, and I was
Yep.
doing it at 10 p.m. at night with a screaming baby, and
Yeah,
and I gave up.
that's fair. Well, if it comes back to you, or if you have some time to look at it, it would be a great help.
Yeah.
Because it is getting closer. It took me about 5 days to get everything installed.
Yeah, I'm not gonna have time in short order to do it, if that makes sense.
It
'Cause-
does.
Yeah, which I'm sure you understand. So
Oh yeah, but I'm
Yeah.
probably going to continue poking at it. So I'll
yeah,
keep,
you can feel free
I'll
to
keep you posted.
you can feel free to keep poking at it, and you can feel free to keep pestering me. I just can't promise I will be useful.
Totally fine. I'm hoping that if I do keep pestering you about it, eventually something will, jog a memory or
Yeah.
something like that. So
Yeah.
This shall continue to be my approach.
It sounds good. Okay.
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
Back to net.
Okay, thank you. John Ragland, KJ6 IVP.
I only have one question today. Is there a page that I can look at that describes what's happened from the beginning of this project until now? So I need to get a little more informed about what we're doing.
What happens from the beginning of the project?
What has happened so far? So far, all I see in the meetings is ideas, coming up with ideas and trying to design a circuit board. But I don't know what's happened so far. Some people I think have been making measurements.
Mhm.
Are you thinking of personal space weather station or HamSCI like in general?
Okay, how about both? I
Okay,
can-
so for personal space weather station, you want hamsci.org/PSWS, which I can put here. And
Is
that
that linked?
is,
Is
yeah.
that linked to from? Is that linked to from the their main page at
yes.
Ham Science?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
and then if you want to get kind of the chronology of things, I would suggest going through, and I don't know if Nathaniel has a different suggestion, but I would suggest going through the different workshop pages going back to 2018. For example, so if you go to like hamsci.org/hamsci 2018, that'll give you everything that happened in the 2018 workshop, and then you can look at the 2019 workshop and so on.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, there you go. I guess you can just go to the current page then.
Okay,
hamsci.org/meetings. Yes, that's much better.
so that will quickly explain what's happened in the past, what's been done.
I don't know if it'll quickly explain it, but it'll be there.
Okay,
There's
Yeah,
just a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if we have something, if we have a paper that's written that kind of explains the whole big picture. Maybe I think Christina's paper might be one of the better ones.
Oh, the EOS article isn't a bad intro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can stick that in here too. By the way, Nathaniel and David, I have copies of those for you that have been translated into French and Dutch. Where'd it go?
We're muted.
I think the other, so actually, I think a good way, John, to do it. So reading this article is definitely a good one to do.
the title looks interesting.
Yep. And so this is kind of a high level overview of everything. And then about every 6 months, so both at the HamSCI workshop and then at the TAPR Digital Communications Conference, we give a talk about, I give a talk of an overview of what the Personal Space Weather Station project is, and then each of the teams gives an update as to where they are. So if you were to go to the HamSCI 2021 workshop, this was last March. And if you were to click on the workshop agenda, you can see right here, there's these talks right here, overview of the Personal Space Weather Station and project update. So that's where I give a brief overview of what the whole big picture is and where we are. And then the project is divided into different teams. So we have the team that's designing the Tangerine SDR, the data engine and overall architecture, the clock module. So each, and then here's some science analysis. So really, if you just watch through, say, this first morning of talks, this kind of gives a history of where we are and what we're doing.
And I get the general idea, space weather, measuring,
Mhm.
and that's well, I've watched some of this talk about the circuit designs, but I sure can't do that. That's way above my skill level.
Right, right. So I think people who are, so are you trying to figure out how to get involved?
Well, my getting involved will be buying equipment and running it.
Mhm.
Not designing equipment. That's what I plan to do.
Yeah, and so I think that's where we kind of are right now. For the last couple years, we've really been in the designing equipment phase, and we're still there right now. So people who don't want to design things but still want to collect data, we're not at the point where we're selling stuff per se, but we do have a level of this where if you go to the Personal Space Weather Station and you go to Build a Grape version 1, with this, you're not designing things, but you are building something that's already been designed. And
oh yeah, there's that map with at the very top of that, at the top of that page with the markers on it. I think that's people who are involved with this project. Oh, great map.
Those are the stations where we particularly have prototype grape stations, which is what's on here. There's also in the Get Involved page, there's a map that has everybody who did participation in the campaigns that we've done over the past couple of years. So Festival of Frequency Measurement, that type of thing.
Yeah, HamSCI volunteers.
Yeah, this is all the Eclipse campaigns. So if you
I've
go to
seen that before.
hamsci.org/festivals, that's kind of that'll kind of give you some of the campaigns that have been run and when those things are coming up. So if you have ham equipment and you'd like to do something with your ham equipment for a couple of days, that's sort of
I've got a 10-meter band radio. Don't know how useful that would be.
yeah, it depends on what we're doing. You know, it's
What-
there are a couple of mailing lists for that kind of thing. So
When we get to coherent CW, that will be useful. And we'll appreciate the help.
Well, that's a lot of reading for me to do, so I'll do that in the near future. Oh, I like the
Awesome.
calendar.
Thank you.
Okay.
So yeah, I think Christina's suggestion of going through a past meeting, past workshop, even if you just look at the very last workshop, that
Mhm.
gives you a pretty good summary of where we are and what we've been doing. And if you browse some of the previous workshops.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Ooh.
Great. And Mike Neruda, AA8K.
Hi, it's just on the
Oh.
phone here. Currently recording the CHU 7 megahertz for the Eclipse. Back to you.
Thank you. And let's see, David McGaw, N1HAC.
Hello.
How are
Sorry,
you?
Off for a little bit, car problems, but let's see. What am I up to these days? Well, we were hoping we could get some data during the eclipse, but you know, we may have some from Tulik at 5 megahertz, but that's an awful far distance from the eclipse. It would be more like a baseline than something interesting. It would have been nice if we had South Pole working, but
Yeah.
our computer isn't online down there, unfortunately. Hopefully soon, but not. It wasn't there. We had we have a vault that has our computers and receivers in it at like, I think it's -50 down there. But believe it or not, we've got the computers in boxes, and the if you close the box, they overheat. So we had the tops askew to adjust the operating temperature. Well, somebody in their infinite wisdom closed our boxes. Computers overheated, failed. Now we're in the process of trying to replace them. So unfortunately, even though we have coverage up to like 9 megahertz down there, it's not operating right now. Would have been nice. We're also talking about repurposing our AM Doppler receivers to pick up WWV, if that could be useful.
Yes.
We're talking with Phil, coordinating on that. Takes a little bit of restructuring, but it's more a matter of getting an antenna that covers up far enough. The receiver can do it. The antenna is currently designed for AM broadcast, but easily done. And then I've also been working on Antarctic project with Hyomin Kim, but unfortunately our equipment doesn't look like it made the boat. At least not this pass.
Yeah.
So, ongoing. And so, you know, we're busy, various different projects. in radio propagation. But I guess that's it. Back to net. Rather snowy here in New Hampshire.
Sounds great. Yeah, it's getting a little snowy here in Pennsylvania too, at least up at my house up in the mountains. Not too bad here in the valley in Scranton. That sounds really good, Dave. And then let's see, KF6 FLJ V Levesque.
Am I unmuted?
You are unmuted.
Okay, I've just been lurking here mostly, but I did in fact record 10 megahertz WWV during the eclipse. I've got a whole bunch of CSV files. You know, I use my ICOM 7300 and I'm very familiar with FLDigi. And I've noticed the contact for this project is actually on this call. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the name of these, zip them and upload them, and maybe address any questions to Christina.
Sounds great. I owe everybody an email. I'm gonna propose this time around that we try having people upload data sets with notes, but there's also just a general upload bin if you don't want to deal with that. So, but yeah,
Okay.
any questions you have, go for it.
Okay, sure. I've got your email. I'll upload the stuff and just take a look. This is the first time I've recorded. So, you know, if there's anything I need to tweak or, you know, if I should have picked a different frequency, just let me know.
All right. Thanks so much.
Sure.
Did we get everyone on the call?
John, Michael, rather, Naruta, if you're recording CHU 7.85, do you want to be on my distribution list for my files from that one?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll take care of that. It's amazing how much it varies from day to day.
I was surprised. Moscow Time Station has a lot of variants, though.
I think we made it through the list then. Any more discussion for today?
I'll just mention that I monitor CHU a lot as well as WWV, and yeah, it is quite variable. The best frequency for that is almost never the same as best frequency for WWV. The near field, so to speak, is very different at those frequencies than long distance.
Yeah, and if you want, I'll add you to that distribution also. It might be interesting to compare notes. We're about 90 degrees apart from it.
Right. Good point. That would be good.
Well, I think that about wraps it up for today then, unless anyone wants to stay on and chat a little bit longer.
Is this then the last meeting for this year?
Yes, I think I'm going to make it the last meeting for this year. So we will take off for Christmas. So I will remove that from the calendar.
If you could please remove the other Thursday telecons as well. We'll resume those on the 13th.
Sure. We'll look at the calendar together here for a second.
Thanks.
Sure. So this is this calendar here. All right. So we will. So there's nothing. So the 16th next week is gone, right? For AGU.
Mm-hmm.
I can actually put in American Geophysical Union meeting, and that will be December 12th through the 17th. And then the 23rd, we will remove that one. And we'll remove that one. Just don't send that. And then won't do anything on the 30th. And then, yeah, I think we should. We'll take a little vacation here.
Recovery time.
Recovery time. And then, so this telecon will come back on the 20th. So we're gonna take a little Christmas vacation. So Christina's comes back on the 13th and this telecon comes back on the 20th.
Our classes start on the 10th, which is a
Okay.
week earlier this year.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, so much for the intercession experiment.
Yeah, it went down the tubes.
You know
Great.
what, maybe we should resume on the 20th for both of them.
That
I'm
sounds
gonna
good.
knock mine out for the 13th. That sounds good.
Nothing on the 13th. Yeah, I
All right.
know. I know for me, I'm gonna have a crunch time to be writing a bunch of reports and papers because there's a paper due on the 28th or something and a faculty report due on the 28th, and it's just gonna be very busy.
So what are you going to do in your free time?
I don't have any free time. Right now it's all just writing. So, but we'll get through it. And there will be more information. So I'm hopefully going to have more information about the HamSCI workshop very soon. So people on this call know it's an open secret that we are planning on having the HamSCI workshop in person / hybrid in Huntsville, Alabama at the US Space and Rocket Center this March 17th through 20th. And I am waiting to announce this officially on the website because I'm waiting for university lawyers to review and approve contracts with the US Space and Rocket Center and the Marriott Hotel. But I talked to the university lawyers this morning and asked if they could possibly get it done by next week so I could make this announcement official while we're at AGU. But for all the people on the call, if you can put that on your calendar, it would be really good. And I'm hoping, and if you can possibly attend in person, that would be really appreciated if it is possible and safe. And for people who are presenting, giving active presentations, there is a certain amount of funding available to support travel to the workshop. So.
Oh, okay. That
Okay.
changes things. When was it again? March 14th through?
March 17th through 20th. So the actual meeting is on the 18th and the 19th. So you come in a Thursday night and you leave on Sunday.
Okay.
So,
Will we talk to you about the funding for any of that?
yes.
Okay.
Yes. So we'll try and fund as many people as we possibly can, especially people who are actively engaged in doing things.
That wouldn't be me.
No, John, if you can at all go to that meeting, I want you there. So,
You said you didn't want to travel.
yeah.
No, I might have to change that.
Okay. Get back to
So
counting.
I think that's pretty much it for today. Anything else?
Well, everybody have a good and safe holiday. Stay
Yes.
healthy.
Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, Happy Hanukkah.
73 and 62.
All of these. Wait, what's 62?
Happy holidays.
Oh, I should know that.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.
As my friends and I are wont to say, do some damage, but be safe.
Thank you,
I
everybody.
like that.
Absolutely.
Have a great day. Bye.
23.
Mele Kalikimaka.